You were smart.
It's such a delicate thing, and you want people to come together and say, "Oh, I never thought of that." But at the same time, I have to realize that not everyone's in that place. Some people are still, they're not even at the table. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are live. Welcome to Women Gather. This is episode 9. Can you believe we have 9 episodes, Amy?
Can't believe that. I really cannot. And they've all been so different, but this one's my favorite for sure.
Definitely my favorite, but it makes me really nostalgic thinking about the fact that it was literally like a year ago, wasn't it? Well, no. It was during COVID when we met with masks on, trying to create this baby that is now Women Gather. And now we've come full circle, and we're sitting here with the people who made it possible by bringing us to this planet. So we're on the heels of Mother's Day. Did you have a good Mother's Day weekend, Amy?
Yeah, we definitely did. We went and took the mamas to eat lunch, and when they went into the restaurant, they were each given a rose. It was so sweet. Cantina Laredo does an amazing job, and we gave them cards and little they love hydrangeas, both of them. So I went out and found the last 2 hydrangeas in town. I think that's like a Mother's Day thing, but yes, it was lovely. How was y'all's?
It was good. It was peaceful. We still owe my mom her Mother's Day present. I'm just realizing that while she's sitting next to me. No pressure.
No pressure here.
Didn't forget.
We were out in the country, and it was really peaceful. But I think true Mother's Day form, my mom is the best cook in the family. So instead of relaxing, she made all the good food. And then me as a mom, instead of relaxing, I washed all the dishes and dried them and put them away. And then we said, leave us alone. What about you, Miss Turner? How was your Mother's Day?
Well, it was kind of quiet. Calli was actually sick. And so I came home and she went to bed. So it was kind of quiet.
But it's always good to have fun. And even for those of us who are new moms and those of us who are, there's so many ways to define mother. And whether it's biological, whether you're an adopted auntie, it's just a great day to celebrate women and to celebrate the relationships we have with the special women in our lives. And that's why we decided to have this episode today with the Mothers Tell All. I think this is going to be really fun. Amy, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, this was something we've been wanting to do for a little bit. And the 3 of us were talking about, women obviously that have impacted us, and our moms have the most. I mean, they raised us and they put us out in the world, and then all of a sudden we had to figure it out. But along the way, I've realized my mom, no matter if I'm sick, I need advice, I just have a question about life, she is that person that I call. And, that just makes me want to pour into the younger generation, because it's this generational thing, and how important it is for us to find mentors, whether they're aunties, mamas, women mentors in our lives. And, our 3 moms here today, the founders' mamas, are very influential in us being able to start spaces like this and have career paths we're on, and juggle having kids and family and life all together. And so these moms here today are very wise, and I'm just thankful to have them on with us.
Well, I couldn't have said it better. And so with that, why don't we go ahead and introduce our moms. Calli, our other founder, will be on in just a moment. If you're wondering why there's a little gap in the screen, she'll be here in just a moment. Our moms taught us to have a strong work ethic, so she's making sure she gets her work done, and she'll be on in just a second. But with that, Miss Turner, would you mind introducing yourself to the ladies of Women Gather?
Well, okay. My name is Kathy Turner, obviously. And I am a beekeeper. I'm an artist. Right now I'm doing stained glass windows, trying to repair them. And then I have a small Etsy store that is suffering badly right now because I'm too busy doing things for my bees. This is a busy season right now because the bees are either swarming or whatever. We're trying to separate hives. And I was just in Little Rock not too long ago, just picking up a new hive, and running home real quick and putting it out. And so, that's it. I think I'm a little bit of everything. We also, with a group of other people, have what we call a county event. We actually have something called Picking Time on 59, and it's actually 26 miles of yard sales.
Wow.
In which you can sell anything that's, as long as it's not a live animal. And so, yeah, people do show up with that. And actually, it has been an amazing experience. We have met people from Texas, from Kansas, Missouri, everywhere. And, I thought yard sales were pretty much over, but they're not. They're still going strong. And anyway, that's what I do.
That's awesome. Well,
Is
Mom,
that in your hometown, by the way? Is that in Bella Vista? Or where are y'all at?
We're in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, is that in your hometown?
No, the 26 miles starts on right outside of town from Highway 412 all the way up to Missouri.
Wow.
And stops at the Missouri border. So there are 5 small towns in which you can either set up in town or along the highway. And oh my goodness, we're going to have to deal with the traffic somehow. We're learning. Each year is a new learning experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's really cool. Well, this is my mother, Dee, and there's so much I could say about you, but I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dee Curry. I am a former dental hygienist. I taught 2 days a week, and I did clinical 3 days a week. I am on the board of directors of Human Resource. I'm from Morrilton. I am on the board of trustees for the Bold Pilgrim Cemetery Preservation Association. I'm a member of PAC. This is an organization that does preservation and documentations of African American cemeteries. I'm a past garden club president. I love gardening. My interests are taking out time for me is number one, as Adora would tell you. I love reading. I like playing on my tablet. I absolutely adore playing in the mud and gardening. I like to cook. I enjoy Bible study. I love being with my grandsons. I waited forever to get them, so now time is precious. And I love a good glass of wine. So that about sums me up.
Oh, yeah.
She's our kind of people, right, girls? All right, Amy, tell us a little bit about your mama.
Yeah, so my mama, and we'll stream her in here in a second. She's a Waco girl, born and raised on a farm. They had a peach orchard that went a whole mile, and they had people from all over the county come and pick peaches. They had chickens and goats and cows. And so she's just a small town girl that came here to Little Rock, where I was born, when my family moved here from Texas. And, we've been here ever since. My mom is a home health nurse, and she also works with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is what she's doing right now. And she helps work with chronic patients that have chronic diseases, and she has such a genuine, loving spirit about her. And she's been a nurse. She went back to school when she was 40. I was already well grown up at that point. She decided to go back to nursing school, and she finished. And her thing really is being able to love people well and put people first. And she loves to travel. And we're actually going to the beach together next week with my hubs Reed and then her husband Joe. So we're super excited. We're beach people. Growing up, that was kind of our second home. And so I'll go on actually, and Adora, if that's still what we're doing here, I'm going to go on and we'll stream her in to actually get us started here, as we have our mama share with us.
Okay.
Hello, ladies. Sorry I could not join you live. I have team meetings and all that at Blue Cross, so I'm really sorry to miss. And thank you for the invite. I'm excited to share some things. The first question, I'll just jump in there, and it's in what way can we role model to young girls and women? I think the biggest impact is how you live your life, your value system, your daily habits. I think, you know, younger girls do watch you. They see what you do when you have adversity or you have difficult situations. And here's the thing, we are going to have difficult situations. I do like to always go back to scripture with different things. And John 16:33, you know, I have told you these things so that you will have, in me, you will have peace. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So I do get a lot of strength from that. And I believe in definitely being intentional with your daily life and what you do, being balanced, you know, regular prayer life, devotion, scripture. I do try to memorize scripture. I have some, you know, I put them on note cards and things like that when I've got something that I need to kind of go back and go, oh yeah, let me pull this one out. But you know, there's just definitely a lot, you know, there's definitely a lot of Proverbs. I've got Ephesians, Colossians, you know, watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. And beginning of strife is like letting out water. So abandon the quarrel before it breaks out. But, you know, again, so much wisdom there. I think that's just a great teaching tool, you know, just really being encouraged with that. And I think too, like your attitude, daily life, I know we're going to have days when we're not as positive, but I think overall having a positive attitude, not complaining. I do think adversity and difficult situations, you know, you can either, you know, be bitter about it or learn and grow from it and, you know, accept that in and, you know, how do you work through that? Because we are better, you know, when we work through things. I think we're stronger and, you know, it's definitely, you know, I think how you build character. And it, you know, it's how you grow. So,
Well, Amy, your mom had a lot to say on that, and I totally agree with everything that she said. Miss Turner, what do you have to add to that? And just to repeat the question, it was, what are 2 things women can do to be an inspiration to girls and younger women?
Well, I agree with everything that Amy's mom said wholeheartedly. What I would probably add to that is, you know, listen, because so many, you know, as a parent, you have a lot of influence on your child, but the other thing too is how much influence you have on other people's kids. And I think as our role, we need to learn to listen to them. You know, you don't have to respond to them, just listen. You know, let them express themselves and let them figure it out. You know, the other thing is just to encourage them. Sometimes their ideas may seem crazy and who knows what, or they may be going off some path that you're not sure that they should go on. But if you just, you know, smile and listen and encourage them, they're just finding their way. So.
Well, what about you, Mom? What 2 things do you think women can do to inspire the younger generations behind them?
Well, I don't limit myself to 2 things. I think the first thing you need to do is be confident in yourself. And most of all, you need to treat yourself and others with respect. I think that's a lost art now. Mm-hmm. And also, you need to know who you are. You need to dress the part, act the part, be the part. You need to own it. And I remember that song. I can't remember who wrote it. It says, I am woman, hear me roar. That's what you need to do. And you need to educate yourself because you have all these little girls out there looking for role models. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you need to be who you are, but you need to do it with confidence. And I go back to a biblical saying also. It says, he who dwells within me is greater than he who dwells in the world. And you have to realize from that You cannot be all things to all people, but you can be to yourself.
I love it. Callie, or Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add to that before we move on to our next question?
No, I mean, I think that what my mom said is on point, and it's actually a testament as to why so many of my nieces and nephews run, or not my nieces and nephews, but her nieces and nephews, and my cousins use her to talk to, and why so many of them are close to. And I just think that you can be such a strong role model for people who maybe aren't in your direct circle of influence because you don't realize it. And it's all about just listening to them and giving them a place to talk. So.
Yeah, and I know that, part of it is being able just to have somebody that will listen. And the importance of listening, especially for somebody like a mother or a mother figure in our lives, is so valuable. That's something that, I've come to find is having a listening ear, and being able to feel like you can be very real and transparent with somebody. They just kind of love you for you, and they help guide you along the way. But kind of what was shared was, you're going to have to figure it out. And that's part of it. And that's really what we're still doing. And that's a part of what, we do in this life, is kind of figure it out as we go. But having a listening ear, I realized how valuable that is. And that's something that I want to do more of. That listening is a powerful tool. And it really does matter.
It does.
Well, you also hear so many stories of people saying when they were growing up that maybe their house wasn't the most welcoming place, or they were kicked out at a young age, or they didn't feel comfortable, but it was the influence of a parent of a friend, or a parent of, a cousin or somebody in their family that sort of helped keep them on the right track. So I think that, that says a lot about how much of an influence you have on other people that are younger than you. And I can say that my mom, a lot of my cousins will say that she's the first feminist that they ever met. So obviously, and it wasn't because my mom was sitting there shouting from the rooftops, about women's rights, but it was more about just being independent and not having to fit into a specific mold, and, standing up for the fact that women are strong and women can pretty much do anything that they want, so.
I like what you said about respect. First you got to respect yourself, and then show respect to others, no matter what age. Don't look down on them. Just treat them with respect. Expect them to. I'm trying to think of the word. In other words, you treat them with a certain amount of maturity, like you said, and just you expect it of yourself and you expect it of them, but you don't hammer them on the head with it. You just let them. You're treating them with respect and expect it back.
Absolutely. So the next question kind of segues from that one to this one, and it says feel free to use a personal example if you want to. But what advice do you have on addressing conflict with other women? So we've gone from two things that we can do to inspire other women to how do we teach them how to fight well? What do you want to jump in on that one?
Well, I think the first thing you need to think about when you facing conflict is, number one, do you want to confront or do you want to retreat? So you need to think whether or not it's worth it. Mm-hmm. Before you get into something with somebody. And then you need to think of different ways. How can I peacefully resolve this first? And I think you also need to find somebody else, like another person. A mentor comes in really handy in situations like this, because let's face it, you're not going to like everybody, and everybody's not going to like you in this world.
Yes.
So sometimes what you have to do with the other person, I think, is that you have to view that person as another person with problems, and maybe how you're reacting to that problem is not the way that person mean for you to react to it. Sometimes conversation can save a lot of heartache.
Absolutely.
If it's a serious situation where there's confrontation,
yeah,
then I say what you need to do is put on your many hats that we wear as women, prepare for battle, know your stuff, and go forward. And I would find a mediator or somebody to actually mediate between me and this person. I would ask for advice. And if it's really good advice, I would try to follow it. And if it's not, you go back, you think to yourself, is this a matter of my job, my livelihood? Is it worth it?
Right.
I think that's the main thing that you have to do. And then choose the pros and cons.
I think that's great advice. Before I chime in on what I think on that, Miss Turner, would you like to add something?
Well, okay, I was thinking about this. When you in a workplace or any place for that matter, you've got to just acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of different personalities. And then you add hormones to that, and it sometimes can cause issues. And so if you just acknowledge that everybody's different and who knows what's happening at home, what kind of stress they're under. And so you accept that, acknowledge that. And then when something does happen, you may be mad, back off and maybe handle it the next day or whatever. But so if it's to the point where you do need to talk to them seriously, it may be you, but if it's them or the combination, then I agree, get a mentor or, go ahead and have that conversation. Calli mentioned to me not too long ago, in this situation, she had a very difficult boss, but she was having trouble with somebody else. And it kept going on and on and on. And finally, she had the opportunity to sit down and talk with this person and realize the stress was coming from the boss and not from each other. Mm-hmm. And they were able to kind of talk it through. They're actually, I think, friends now. And so, anyway, it was just, I just think that, again, back to the conversation, back to the respect, and just acknowledge that, yes, we're all different personalities, who knows what, but don't give up on that conversation.
There are some instances, I think, also when conversation does not work, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I think in those situations, the first thing you need to do, you need to pray about it. God has answers for all kinds of things for us if we will only take the time to talk to him and to listen. And then if, after you prayed about it and there's no other avenue for you to go, my advice as an old person that's been there and done that, document, have your facts ready. If you got a bad situation, don't go in on hearsay of what you think. Actually document. You can even go further as to get legal advice so that whatever you do, you're speaking for your own good. You are your best advocate. Speak up for yourself. Mm-hmm. We're women. We can do this. We wear many, many, many hats. This is a piece of cake. Don't let people destroy you from being who you are or what you want to be.
Right.
You take control.
So I guess my comment was, as a older woman, so my guilty pleasure is watching General Hospital. I've been watching it since, I've never missed an episode since 1992. And now that I'm in my 40s, I know. Now that I'm in my 40s, I see it differently. And half of the conflict on there, I'm like, if they had just communicated or had a conversation, and then I'm like, well, it's a show. And so they couldn't communicate because then we wouldn't have any drama and we wouldn't have anything to watch. But yes, but the point is that 99% of conflict is a miscommunication between people. And again, as women, I don't especially in a male dominated, and I know Amy's mom's about to go into this next segment, but especially in male dominated fields or where you have a big audience of males, I do not like to show conflict with other women in that presence because I feel like they already kind of look at us as the weaker sex. and to not get along or to be competitive in such a catty way is kind of what is expected of us. And so I feel like, you know, as women, and again, this is something that I've learned as I've gotten older, like I'd rather have conflict with you in private where we can sit and we can talk about it, so that they can't see the chinks in our armor, like in person. And before Amy's mom leads into the next question, because it talks more about women in the workplace, do you guys have any final comments on this particular question?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things that I've recently been told that have been game changers for me when it comes to conflict. And that one, it is not always about you. Meaning, like, I think that as women, sometimes we internalize and we tend to think that we've upset them, or that we've done something, or that the root of what they're upset about has to do with us. And maybe it was just a one-off reaction to us about something completely different, and it may just roll over. So that gave me a lot of power in how to handle conflict. And another thing is there's a lot of power in the slowness of our reactions. It holds a lot of power. So, you know, I have tried to get better about, instead of, you know, if something is happening conflict wise, take a second, step away, come back to it maybe the next day, you know, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, I can be real quick to fire off a text or an email or call somebody out in a meeting, and that's just not necessary. Sometimes it can diffuse itself. So those are the best two things that I have learned, is that it is about, it's not always about you, and there's power in your reaction and in the slowness of your reaction. So.
Calli,
Well,
I
I
love
think,
that. Oh, you
go
go
ahead.
on, Miss Turner.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the worst things you could do is put it into the gossip mill. You know,
Yes.
stop and think, go to your mentor or whoever you feel wise, and don't send it down the gossip mill. I think that's the worst thing that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and kind of what you said, Calli, I mean, it requires a level too of confidence in yourself. Sometimes we have just different personalities, right? And we have sometimes a loud confidence or a quiet confidence, but regardless, confidence, I've realized, is so important, especially as a business owner, where, you know, I deal with both males and females, you know, every day, but specifically when I walk into a room and it's a lot of men, and I'm at the table with these men that also have businesses, and we're having high level discussions. You know, I may not know everything, but it's the confidence in my voice and the confidence in who I am. That's not something I've always had. So to get to finally have that voice, I've realized is really important, with that level of humility and always giving something a night of sleep. That's my mom's advice, is sleep on it, wake up, and then you'll be able to have a fresh perspective. But either way, have your voice, and because sometimes your voice can get muffled. So remembering how powerful our voices are, kind of like what Miss Curry said too, is using our voice. You know, I'm a woman, hear us roar, and there's something to be said about that.
For sure. And with that, we're going to let your mom give the final comment on this question.
The workplace, I would say, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I don't have that to compare to, but I would just say for women, more benefits for, you know, flexible work schedules, you know, sick time, sick leave, maybe some type of benefits that helps pay for their childcare, whatever that is, or, you know, having if they have to go to a facility, maybe it's a bigger organization, having, you know, some type of daycare situation there where they can maybe spend lunch with them and breaks and things like that. So I think that should be offered. I really do.
Okay. And so with that, we were talking about in the workplace, like there's a different dynamic between like when our moms were coming up versus what we're experiencing now in the workplace. And Amy's mom was saying like the disparities with like the benefits that are offered for women who are trying to work, which I think a lot of those are coming to light now, especially because of the pandemic and people being more aware or having that spotlight on the conditions in workplaces more so now, and what's fair and what is not fair for women. But moms, we wanted to ask you, from the times when you were working to the observations now, the conditions for women, whether it's working with men, working with other women, or just conditions in the workplace as a whole, what are some things that have changed over the years? And what are some things that you want to encourage all of the women working now to continue to press forward on?
You want me to go?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I think the first thing you need to do in the workplace, and this is basically men or women, you need to be proactive. You need to know your job. You need to do a good job. You need to be honest. You need to be on time. You need to be dependable. And the other thing I have found is you need to take advantage of all the educational opportunities that job offer you. If you can go to a conference, go. Network. Learn about the job. Learn about other people. Take classes. And I think you need to always remember the golden rule, to do unto others as you will have them to do unto you. But I don't mean be a patsy. You need to be assertive with it. There's nothing wrong with being nice or too nice, but know your limitations. And as far as the workplace, when I was working, I actually found men to be more supportive than women. This is back in the day. I found them to be sexist, and I found that they did not promote you. You didn't get the salary that they got, okay? I find women to be very petty in the workplace, regardless of their race. You know, they could be jealous of your clothes, they be jealous of your education, your elocution, your looks, your ability to communicate with other people. You know, and there's a lot of things that have changed in the workplace since I was there. I retired in 1983, which is a long time ago. And I was remembering when I read this question, when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of choices on what I could be or what I could do, because back in the day, I was telling Adora, I can only remember two things we basically did. You were a school teacher. I didn't particularly care for kids, so I didn't want to do that. Or you could be a secretary. I don't type, as you well know, so I didn't want to do that either. But your choices were sort of limited on what you were going to do and how you were going to do it. And the other thing I found, I was a hygienist. So my role was a little bit different because I was sort of like my own boss. But I worked with a bunch of dentists. I worked with a bunch of assistants. I found that women, and Black women in particular sometimes, we were like, you know, crabs in a bucket. Instead of being that supportive woman in the workplace, instead, what they wanted to do was, you know, you're trying to crawl and go further. They're busy pulling you back down. Mm-hmm. They don't want you to succeed. You know, and I find it sort of sad that we as women don't recognize what a great sisterhood that we are.
Yes.
We can do all kinds of things men can't do. You ever seen a man have a baby? That's not easy. You ever seen a man, not only, you know, you come home. I remember when Adora was small, her dad was a pilot, so he was gone all the time. So basically it was her and I. We would get up in the dark. I would have to get up, get her dressed, drop her off at daycare, go to work, go check on her at noon, pick her up, come back home, cook, clean, listen to her, do all that different stuff, all in one day. And it wasn't just once. It was day after day after day. And sometimes I honestly thought I would pass myself driving because I was so busy. And you know, as a woman, you do a lot of things. And we owe it to each other. If you see women in the workplace or any place else, be a true sister, be supportive.
Yes.
It doesn't cost you anything. Help that person, be a mentor. And that's what we are lacking. I mean, I can go on and on. As Adora knows, I like to talk, but I will let somebody else take it over. But yeah. I think, you know, we just need to be more confident, more educated, and more supportive.
I totally agree with you. And I do want to add, too, though, that we also need to be very mindful that we don't have to compete with each other.
Exactly.
We should all want each other to succeed, but also we need to be mindful of like the kind of energy that we put out, because when you're doing something great and there is someone, whether they're at your level or they're trying to come up to where you are, and you're not kind and you're not humble and you're not approachable, that makes it hard for someone to ask you for your advice or to, you know, latch onto you as a mentor, you know. And I think sometimes we miss the opportunity to bless other people because I see a lot of women who are so focused on their success that they forget the humility aspect of it. Miss Turner, what do you have? What comments would you like to add?
Well, several, and I so agree with you that I've seen so many women just be really not nice to each other instead of being very encouraging. You know, when someone gets a promotion or a leadership role on a project, we should be so encouraging instead of just beating each other down. And you see it happen way too much. The other thing too was that a guy mentioned this, that every 6 months you probably ought to be adding something, some kind of education, some kind of improvement to your resume constantly, always looking for something. Well, this is definitely showing my age, but so I worked as a greeting card artist for a large company, and we started out, computers were not in the workplace. Cell phones were not in the workplace. And so, and so I began to realize, even though I loved doing art and I was actually doing it by hand, I realized that computers were the way. It was just going to be the future. And so I realized too that the company was not going to train me. And so that's basically when I left, is when I realized they were not going to train me. And I actually did it on my own. I started learning how to do it on my own. But you know, everything's changed so much, how everything is done. And I know the young people are seeing a lot of changes too. So anyway, I just encourage you to keep learning, you know, everything. And you'd be surprised. The other thing I learned too from Calli is that her so-called job career did not take a straight line. She didn't go from A, B, C, D. She went A to M to, she went every which way. And it's amazing to me how much they begin to connect.
Yeah.
Like she, you know, she worked for an ice cream place, and dipping ice cream, that was one of her many, many jobs that she had when she moved to New York City. And what happened was, and another time she was working for a restaurant where she learned all about wines, how to mix drinks, all that kind of stuff. And when she finally got a really good job, it started all connecting. You know, she had to buy gifts for customers, so she knew how to buy wine. You know, they needed refreshments at the work. She knew where to, and she also didn't burn her bridges. Everywhere she went, she left with good connections. So when she worked for a florist, guess what? Her job needed floral arrangements, and Calli was able to call this person up and say, you know, this is what I need. Can you help me? So anyway, that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you for that. Amy, Calli, did you want to add anything?
Well, and I also think that mom's leaving out, you know, like a lot of crucial history for herself as well. You know, I think that even though mommy might argue with me on this, but I gathered that you were fairly lucky in that your boss was a little more in touch with how to be responsive to women. In fact, he got a big kick out of her nursing me when I was little, which I know a lot of women didn't have access to that opportunity. But, you know, I think hearing her talk about the sort of the struggles that she had to go through just to be able to have her own bank account, to have her own name on her own sailboat that she bought with her money, I I think that one thing that we need to think about is the generational gap, is that there's probably a lot of more listening that we need to do to the generation before us, our generation specifically, that sometimes we can be little spitfires and just go off in our own direction and think that we know everything. And it's not the case. You know, there's a lot we can learn. And I would say anybody who's listening that's in our generation, that the generation that came before us, you know, our parents' generation, they have a lot to teach us, and we would do well to listen to them and not just think that we know everything already. So
Absolutely. That's the most humbling thing, especially because I'm a parent now, and there have been moments where like I've had to like I've told my mom, and I was like, I don't want to admit this, but you're like right about everything. Because I find myself trying to give my kids advice and they don't want to hear a word I have to say. And we forget that if someone is older than you, then they've been where you are. They've been your age before. And my mom is so wise. And a lot of times they're quiet because they're observing. And I've learned as I've gotten older that you gain a lot of wisdom too, just by observing. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, I've just gone back to Miss Curry, what you said about it doesn't cost anything to root on a woman and to encourage and cheerlead another woman. If anything, it's probably going to make you feel better and them. So it's a win-win for both when you give someone their rose. And then Miss Turner, what you said about, you know, just not viewing it as competition, like setting another person up to win, going good for her. You know, there's plenty of room for us to succeed. And sometimes by success, it just means we're rooting someone on, just because we don't have to be hands-on and doing everything. And if maybe something we're not involved in, we want to be, and maybe it's taking the back seat and saying, you go girl, I'm so proud of you. And other times it's driving and taking the front seat. That's something I've really kind of watched and learned. And hearing these moms say that today is a reminder, like we have the power to root one another on too.
I want to add one thing to this. You know, this old saying about walking in somebody else's shoes?
Yeah.
Ladies, you don't want to walk in somebody else's shoes. Walk in your own shoes.
Amen.
So much further in your own shoes.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
And they fit better.
And they fit better.
It's taken me a long time to figure that one out. Accept myself and
Exactly.
Okay, so with that, let's talk about this. How important is it to have the influence of women in your lives? Amy's mom is gonna.
Okay, about being a woman, two things women can do to be an inspiration to younger women. I'm going to go back to definitely, you know, your spiritual life, being a follower of Jesus, knowing your worth there, and, you know, just the agape, unconditional love, not being, you know, tied up in looks and accomplishments and you know, the checking, the goals, the things like that. I think those are all great things in life. You know, I think we have to be intentional though, with our spiritual life, because I think just having that foundation and not having your identity tied up in different things and getting pulled in, you know, what are you exposing yourself to? What, you know, social media can be good and bad. So, you know, just being aware of that, you know, what you're exposing yourself to. And I think back of what I call the 4 C's. I've listened to a lot of Joyce Meyer sermons, and the 4 C's are comparing, competing, complaining, and criticizing. You know, if I look at something and go, okay, is any of this going on here? It kind of can, you know, get back on the path a little bit of like, you know, this is, and I know, you know, definitely when you're tired or when you're run down, it's easier to shift into that. So I just think, again, striving to have a balanced life, having a good support system. As women, we wear a lot of hats. We're the caretakers, we're the helpers. We juggle a lot. So I think just knowing that you don't have to be perfect, and you know, you don't have to beat yourself up, and just, you know, and just that relationship with God and you know, the unconditional love. Because I think people are going to let you down. They're not going to be always there for you. You know, I think definitely fellowship with others is important, but I think there'll be something missing if you don't have that in your life.
That was great. You want to go ahead and jump in?
Yeah, what I was going to say, I think the first thing as a woman you need to do is ask yourself, what have I done for myself lately? Because again, you cannot be all things to all people. You can't have a good job. You can't perform well on a good job or anything else if you aren't doing things for yourself. In order to be a good mentor or a good role model, you got to take time out for self. You got to realize that you are important. You need to reevaluate what are the things that make me a good person, that make this person want to be like me. Because we have a great responsibility for all of those little girls that's coming along behind to be that role model. You can't run from A to B to Z without taking time out to pause, because number one, you're going to run out of energy. And number two, you're going to miss out on something important. So I think it's very important to take out the time to be good to yourself before you try to be good to somebody else.
I think that's great. That's fair. Miss Turner, how important is it for women to have other women as influences on their lives?
Okay, so I can see it now. I couldn't see it at the time. Was it ladies going through their 30s and 40s? They seem tired, and when I think back on it now, I realize I did the same thing. You're, like you said, you're exhausted from working all day, and then you come home and do all the groceries, everything. And, I see it now. I see it, and you're thinking, oh, how am I, you want to encourage them and say, okay, it will get better. What can I do? And anyway.
So,
and
go ahead.
I'm sorry. You said, how important is it? I think it's extremely important. I think back over the people that have just been so influential to me, and some of them were working, some of them weren't. And I look at not only the way they raise their kids, how they enjoy themselves when they're away from work. Are they laughing, telling jokes, or are they just so stressed out?
Yeah.
And I think that's something. I think people need to learn the art of a good joke. And of course, you got to be careful when it comes back sometimes. But and a good clean joke, I'm saying, where people will actually laugh. I think we need a lot more of that, just to get these women to relax a little bit and realize, life can be fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be exhausting.
Adora and Amy, did your mothers ever play pranks on you while you were growing up?
No.
I had an older brother that did more of that. Did you, Miss Turner? Did you
Well,
play pranks on her?
I told Sally too, if you're going to play a joke, it needs to be so good that no one knows who did it. It might be years before anybody ever finds out, but that's okay. But it needs to be a good, perfect joke.
She would short
Look
sheet
for
my bed.
opportunities.
Have you ever put your feet in your bed and your sheets stop midway, like what happens at camp? My mom felt I didn't get that experience enough, so when I came home from college, she would short sheet my bed.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Well, as an only child, we felt like it was our duty. All the nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles felt it our duty to do things to Calli. And we greatly enjoyed it.
I think that's cool. That's fair, because I'm an only child too, and I am the biggest prankster as a mom to my kid, because I think I've like treat them like what I wish my big brother or younger brother or sister would have done to me when I was growing up, but I didn't have anybody. So I'm glad that you said that, Miss Turner. It makes me feel better, because I prank my kids all the time. We don't even celebrate April Fool's Day anymore, because I pranked EJ so bad, the baby started crying and we were laughing too hard to help him. And I was just like, okay, we're not doing this holiday anymore. But anyways, that's a fun segue to into the fun portion of our questions. And these are really quick, But we wanted to know from the moms. Tell us a little bit about your girl. So the first question is, what is something about her that makes you very proud? And we're gonna kick it off again with Amy's mom, and then Miss Turner, and then Mom. Will you please chime in?
Yes.
Here we go. Amy's mama. I'm getting better at the screen share, you guys. Aren't you proud of me? Here we go.
About my daughter, my favorite subject out of this, and I would say, of course, I'm very proud of my daughter. All know Amy and how awesome she is, and I'm sure you're all awesome. I think what makes me most proud is her kindness and the way she gives to others, the way she loves others. Just a genuine goodness and trying to see the best and being just really accepting of people from all walks of life. I think that's the thing that stands out to me the most, that I'm like, I'm really proud of that. And of course, all the things that she's done with Nexus and that's definitely something pretty neat.
Okay, Miss Turner, what's something about Calli that makes you proud?
Well, so when I was growing up, for some strange reason, my dad didn't want me to work. And I really regretted that, because I felt like, I should have learned how to go out, get a job, make money, and deal with the money myself. But I have no idea why. But anyway, with Calli, we didn't have to ask her. We were trying to be very careful about materialistic things. And so Calli went out and we wouldn't let her get a cell phone, and because we thought she was a little too young for that. And next thing I know, she not only had a job, she bought her own cell phone. And we found out when it rang at the table. And since then, she's so good about it. She's so comfortable of going out and not only getting a job, but doing the interviews. The other thing is she's so comfortable talking in front of people. I'm amazed at that. I've always been a private person, but she's very comfortable being in public and talking with people. And you just sit there and you just kind of listen to her thinking, wow, where did she get that? Wasn't me. So.
All right. Well, what about me makes you proud?
Everything.
Oh.
Greatest thing is you finally made me a grandmother. I waited forever to be a grandma. All my friends had grandbabies. And I thought, what is this child's problem? And she turned out to be a very loving, attentive, and evolved mom. So I really, really like that. And Adora is a very compassionate person. She's detail oriented. She's a great planner. If you need an event, she's a fantastic event planner. She's a good leader. And the two things I think that I am more proud of than anything in the whole world.
Oh.
One is you finally took off those rose-colored glasses. And the second one is she will speak up for herself.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can barely ask the next question. Luckily, Amy's mom will do it for us. The next question is, what trait in you do you see in your daughter? And here's what she had to say.
Traits we share, I'm hoping the kindness. I think also just that stick-to-itness, the tenacious, being tenacious, sticking with things, not getting beat down by things. Like it's persistent determination. I looked up tenacity, and I think that's something we share. And just kind of going, all right, we're going to make the best of this. What do we need to do? What's plan B? Thinking outside the box. So I think I think it's a great quality for a young woman. And I think that can be, learned from others.
Okay, Ms. Turner, what is a trait in you that you've seen in Calli?
She got an awful lot from her dad. um, yeah, she's got his smile and his eyes. So, Kelly's always she's always enjoyed laughing. She's quick with a smile. The other thing too is that she and I both share a love of dogs, and we both have uh, we both adopted our dogs from the pound. And I don't know if you've met her daughter or not, but it's turned out to be a hound. And so she has been teaching it all kinds of things, and it's actually a pretty good hound. It has a little German Shepherd in it, so it's her protector. And the other thing we both enjoy doing is we both enjoy going to estate sales, um, hunting for things that are just unusual. I love the history of it and the things you find. And so anyway.
All right. Well, what's a trait in you that you see in me?
Well, now that you took those rose-colored glasses off, I, I think one of the ones is patience and perseverance. And also, I go back to the Bible in Psalms when it says, "Be still and know that I am God, that I am with you in all situations. I'm around you, I'm behind you, and I am in front of you." As you get older, you're going to face adversity. You're going to face difficulties in life. But I think you have to be sure of yourself and be confident. Go back to being that assertive woman, to know that things will work out. And this is what I see in Adora. For most of her life, she wore rose-colored glasses. She did not see the world as it was with all the problems and things. But I think as you get older, you realize not only are there problems, but you have to figure out how to navigate around them. So I'm very proud of her. I see a lot of good things in her.
Well, thank you for that. So I am going to jump around a little bit in our lineup, girls. And so Callie and Amy, and then I will answer afterwards. I want to know two things. One, what's your favorite thing to do with your mom? And two, what do you admire most about her? And Amy, why don't you go first?
I would say favorite thing to do with my mom, we love to drive around. On Sundays, we would just go to open houses and they'd be like, "Are you here to purchase a home?" And we're like, "No." And we would walk through these houses and just talk about them and go get a Sonic drink. And so our thing was garage sales and open houses together on Sundays. And so we just like to drive around and talk and go eat some good food together. So I really like doing that with her. And what was the second part of that?
What's one thing you admire?
Yeah, admire. Gosh, and just so you mamas know, we really can list so many things. That's why y'all are here with us today, because of the impact you've had. We've been through a lot just as a family, and being a blended family. I've just admired the way that she talked about, like, the perseverance part and just sticking with something. That's really what I admire about her, and that's taught me a lot about the year of a pandemic, having a business and a team of people that all have families. Like, it took me just saying I have to stick with it for the sake of this business and for the sake of these people around me. And so just remembering everything she's been through was a reminder that that's something that I can do as well. And that's kind of kept us going. And now we're coming alive again out of this strange time. And it just took a lot of sticking with it.
Very cool. Callie, what do you have? And I'll repeat the question. Favorite thing to do with mom, and one thing you admire about mom.
Well, what mom said about estate sales is true. In fact, my dad worries when she comes down to Little Rock how much she's going to bring home because we're bad together. But we pull out our Ashley's finds or whatever, and we make our map, and we go out and we just look at estate sales and look at all the things that we don't need to enhance our homes and things like that. So that's definitely something that I learned at an early age to do. I've been garage sale hopping since I was 2 or 3. So that's definitely my favorite thing to do with her, other than pick up poor little sick animals that I think need me. Um, and then the thing that I admire the most about my mom is that she doesn't really sit still very much. She's not really a person who just sits and, works on something in the home or something like that. I'll call and she can't answer because she's mowing, property out at my grandparents' camp, or she's tending to her bees. She's a beekeeper now, or she's out kayaking, or she's hunting down a water tank for her Airstream, or she's out doing this or out doing that. And I'm like, what? Or she's taking a canoe trip with some young folks that need help because my mother at her age can stand up in the middle of rapids and rescue people in a sunken canoe. So that I not only admire that in her, but I aspire to be like that. I just think that that's signs of a life lived well and a life lived fun, to not to worry about all the the little things and the way you look and all that stuff, but just more like go out and experience life and don't let anything hold you back. So
That's awesome. So my favorite thing to do with my mom, I'm a foodie, surprise, surprise. And I think that I got my foodie nature from my mom because we have gone out to eat since I can remember. I think I thought appetizers were like a third meal. We have, when I was a little girl, like flown to New Orleans just to have uh, uh, what are those, beignets and stuff. We've flown to Seattle for seafood, and we have a lot of fun exploring Arkansas and trying the different cuisines. But wherever we go, like we find somewhere, she's my favorite companion. When I go to a restaurant, we try everything, we share everything, and it's like the ultimate girlfriend experience. And that's one thing too that makes me grateful to be an only child, is that I don't have to share that moment with anybody, because we don't invite my boys either. It's just us girls, and we go and just have a really good time, great conversation, great wine, and lots of great food. And that's my favorite thing in the world to do. And the thing that I admire most about my mom, I would have to say, is how she loves herself and she takes care of herself. She was my first girl crush. When I was little growing up, I always just wanted to look like my mom and dress like my mom. And I always asked her like if I could have her outfits when I would get older. She's always very, very well put together. And she never lets you see her sweat. Everybody deals with adversity and challenges because that's just part of life. But my mom always does it, making sure that she looks good, she smells good, and she sounds good. And I love that about her. And the older I get, the more I try to emulate that myself. So ladies that are watching us today, we want to know what is a favorite thing that you like to do with your mothers or your mother figures, and something that you admire most about them. And we also have done a challenge that we dropped in, and we see some of y'all putting your answers in the comments. I don't think anybody's gotten it right yet, which is okay, because just for trying, you will get entered into the drawing for a ticket to come to Gather Table on June 3rd. But the questions were, just to remind you, which founder was nicknamed the Bag Lady as a little girl because she used to put everything she could get her hands on into a bag? One time, her mom had to fish through over a dozen bags just to find her eyeglasses. Which founder was that? Raise your hand. That was Calli. So number one, or question A, is actually Calli. Number two, this founder used to have an imaginary dog named Woot Woot that she shared popsicles with and took everywhere she went. Which founder was that? That was me.
And the whole neighborhood knew Woot Woot.
And number three, this founder had an imaginary glass full of fairies. They all had names. I have to know how many fairies were in this jar. One day, her neighborhood crush broke the jar, and girl power, she never forgave him. Holler, which founder was that? Amy.
Never forgave him. Wesley. It was Wesley Pruitt. And
To this day.
this day. He lived 2 doors down, and I'm just like, no. After that, I was like, no more. You are not cute anymore.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to just add a couple of closing remarks, and then we'll come back for some housekeeping. Mom, did you want to say anything to say goodbye or anything about this conversation today?
I do. I have enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting all of you. And I want to say to all the women listening, become the exciting, vibrant, confident woman that you are and the woman you are supposed to be for yourself, and then share it with others.
Oh, that was awesome. What about you, Miss Turner? Any lasting comments?
This has been fun.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. And it's good to be able to talk to each other and just learn something new. It wasn't so much that I learned something new, it's just that I agree so much with both moms.
So. That's awesome. Okay, and here is a final word from Amy's mama.
I sure wish I could have been live with all of you. I definitely want to wish you all the best, and I hope that you can have joy and peace in your life, and you can take that pause button, take care of yourself, and anyway, I think that's all I want to share. So, wishing everyone the best. Bye.
That was awesome. Okay, and so with that, Amy, remind us about June 3rd. What's happening on June 3rd?
Yeah, so June 3rd, we have our first gather table. We're actually hosting it at Nexus Coffee, where I'm currently at right now downtown. And we have some awesome all-women vendors, caterer, and our speakers. Most importantly, we have Heather Baker coming, Dr. Geraldine Jones, and Lena Albeck, 3 very different women with impactful stories. We are really excited. There's just 30 spots. We are already selling tickets. You can still go get yours. And that'll be an evening of connection and networking, but more than anything, being raw and real. It's kicking off at 5:30 with headshots with Lucy Bear and a little bit of happy hour going on. And then we'll go from there to eat and have the panel. So we're really excited. Tickets are live through our website and through our Facebook page. So we'd love for y'all to join us and grab one. And then we hope to do another one in the fall.
We'll see you on June 3rd. You don't want FOMO. All right, and Calli, what about Tuesday, May 25th? What's happening?
So I don't know if you guys have heard much about what's going on with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. What the heck is it?
Right.
I don't know if you guys are as curious as we are, but we really wanted to know. So we've actually got a few people that are going to come in and explain what the heck a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency is. And then maybe we can get in on the action and kick all these men off.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So with that, we thank everyone who took the time out to join us today. We especially thank and hug and love on our moms. Thank you, Miss Turner. Amy, please thank your mom. Mom, you were the most awesome. She drove all the way down from Morrilton to come hang out and spend the night with us today, and we greatly appreciate you. And for all of those watching, we hope that you will share this with some women in your life, and we can keep the lovey feelings from Mother's Day and from this conversation going. Pick up that phone, go drive by that house, have that conversation, but constantly keep in contact with the women in your life and let them know you love them. Have conversation, break bread, share the love. And as my mom said, and Miss Turner said, and Amy's mom said, be confident. Take care, and we'll see you on the 25th of May. Bye!